All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, all you magnificent melonheads, and happy Monday, everybody. Today is March 11th, 2024. And the top story this morning is the government in Haiti has outright collapsed. A few days ago, there was a coordinated jailbreak in Haiti. More than 4,500 gang members were busted out of prison by armed gangs, and those gang members are running rampant in the streets right now. The president or prime minister, I forget what they're called in Haiti, but the government has basically fled the capital, fled the country. Armed gangs, even reports of armed cannibal gangs, are now running things in Haiti. It's basically a failed state. There is no government anymore. It's anarchy in the street. And this is what happens when there is just no economic activity, prosperity whatsoever. The country is just outright failed. And so life is getting even more miserable for the poor people who are stuck in that country. And, guys, this is not something happening over on the other side of the world. This is something that's happening just, 100 miles or so off our own coast here in the Western Hemisphere. So there's probably going to be some U.S. involvement. What form that takes, I don't know. It wouldn't be the first time the U.S. has sent people to Haiti. We did the same thing in the 90s. That didn't go so well. But unfortunately for the people there, things just continue to get worse. Other news going on this morning, Bitcoin has just crossed 72,000 for the first time this morning. That comes on the back of news that Microstrategy, run by Michael Saylor, has bought an additional 12,000 Bitcoin for $821 million, which places the average purchase price at around $68,500. MicroStrategy took out debt to buy that Bitcoin. So that is a vote of confidence in the price movement of Bitcoin for them to leverage themselves to the tune of another $800 million to buy Bitcoin here at an all-time high. They're trying to tell you that they think it's going higher. We've also got China. Vanka, one of the largest developers, the third largest developer in China. They have a big payment coming due this week. And, well, they swear up and down that they've got the money to cover this payment. However, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of worry by insurers, by other banks that maybe they don't have the money. And now we've got the Chinese government is coming out and saying, hey, you Chinese banks, you guys need to let up on Vanka. Don't make them repay everything. How about we extend? Why don't we restructure? Now, the government owns roughly a third of the shares of Vanka, so I guess it's not too surprising. But this is the first time the government has ever intervened directly on behalf of a specific developer. The government pretty much sat on the sidelines while Evergrande failed. They pretty much sat on the sidelines while Country Garden defaulted. Although Country Garden hasn't been liquidated yet, Evergrande has. So the government is taking a little bit more of a heavy-handed approach than they normally do on this one. So we'll see what comes out of that. We've got Reddit is IPOing very soon. There was an SEC filing today. They posted some of the details of what they plan to IPO. Just what the world needs, another tech company that doesn't make any money. Needless to say, I won't be the first man in line to buy stock in Reddit, but, hey, good luck, another tech IPO. And Boeing is in the news again today. No, just not good news for Boeing, nowhere to be found. Two things going on for Boeing this morning. We had the DOJ is opening a criminal investigation into that blowout from that panel on that Alaskan Airlines flight that was about a month ago, where the bolts weren't tightened that hold this panel in place. And, at altitude, this panel blew out. Amazingly, nobody was killed. But ever since that event, documentation and investigations have been, should I say, Boeing has been less than forthcoming with the documentation surrounding that door panel blowout. So much so that now the DOJ has opened a criminal probe. I don't know what's going to come out of that, but right as that news hits, there was a Latin American Airlines flight that was going between Australia and New Zealand. And well, it was described as a technical event that led to a strong movement in the plane. Now that sounds okay, a technical event that led to a strong movement. Okay, what was that? Well, apparently the plane dropped so abruptly that 50 people on board were injured. All right, this plane's just cruising along an hour into the flight, and then all of a sudden there is a technical event and a strong movement. Next thing you know, 50 people are hurt. about a dozen hospitalized. So obviously we got the PR people are handling the wording right now. We don't know exactly what happened on that plane. We don't know if it's related to maintenance or just a technical failure or another quality issue. Whatever happened, it was another Boeing jet. A lot of people got hurt. Nobody killed, thankfully. But Boeing stock is getting crushed on this news this morning, down about 2.5%. So the bad news just keeps coming for Boeing. So much going on, so little time. Hey, why don't we shrink my big melon of a head and let's see what's going on in the markets this morning. And while we're doing that, guys, don't forget, hit that like button if you can. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. We do this every morning, so have your coffee with the melon heads. And before we go into this, something I forgot to mention, today is the day, March 11th. It is the expiration of the bank term funding program. And, well, nothing so far. It's not mass hysteria. It's not dogs and cats living together just yet, but there will be no new loans issued by the bank term funding program. And now the loans that were issued a year ago are all going to start maturing and being paid back. So we'll see if this adds any stress into the banking system, but this is not an instant overnight liquidity event causing phenomenon. It just means liquidity is going to get a little tighter from here on out. Looking at the S&P this morning, we are down 14, almost 15 points, about 0.3% lower ahead of the opening bell. We've got the Dow is down 130 points, or about a third of 1% lower. And we've got the NASDAQ is down 67 points, also 0.37% lower this morning. So stocks are red across the board. We've got a dollar that is surging a little bit this morning, up 9 basis points. Still below that 103 level at 102.8. So we've got a slightly stronger dollar this morning. That's contributing to the downward movement in stocks. And looking over at the bond market, we have got the 30-year Treasury is at 4.243%. That's down about 2 basis points this morning. The 10-year is down about 1 point at 4.08. The 2-year is yielding 4.51. Sorry, that is up 2.5 basis points. And the 1 month is up 1 basis point at 5.385. Looking over at the commodities board, we got a little bit of a break in gold this morning, down $2 here, trading at $2,183 for April gold futures. That's down about 0.1%. We got silver trading at $24.60 for May silver futures. That's up about a nickel this morning. Platinum is up 2%, palladium up 1.5%. And West Texas Intermediate crude oil, April futures at $77.68. That's down about 30 cents this morning, or about 0.4% lower. And looking over, here's Bitcoin this morning. We were over 72,000 up to a couple of minutes ago, right before I went live. Currently at 71,872. That's up another $2,800 this morning. This rip-roaring rally in Bitcoin just continues. Another big candle up this morning. Now, this is largely due to the ETF inflows that continues to this day, but not just the ETF inflows. We've got Microstrategy, which might as well be a Bitcoin ETF because they trade like one. Microstrategy buys another 12,000 Bitcoin after raising over $800 million from convertible notes. Microstrategy bought the latest batch of Bitcoin when the asset's price stood below 69,000. Business intelligence firm Microstrategy has completed an $800 million fundraising effort to purchase additional Bitcoin. The company also used some excess cash and acquired 12,000 Bitcoin, with its total holdings now well above 200,000 Bitcoin. And Michael Saylor tweeted this out this morning, mentioning that it was about $821 million they used from the proceeds from those convertible notes and some cash they had on hand. Average price was $68,477 for Bitcoin. And as of March 10th, they own 205,000 Bitcoin, acquired for about $6.91 billion at an average price of $33,706. So MicroStrategy is doing all right this morning. Now let's talk about this one. Sad story going on in Haiti here. This one started over the weekend. Haiti in chaos as armed gangs take over capital, and the U.S. Embassy staff has been evacuated. So this country, things are just going to shit in Haiti this morning. The U.S. Embassy in Haiti is evacuating some of its personnel from the nation's capital as rampant gang violence intensifies. Heightened gang violence in the neighborhood near the U.S. Embassy compounds and near the airport led to the State Department's decision to arrange for the departure of additional embassy personnel. The embassy remains open. The U.S. has previously warned its citizens that they should depart Haiti as soon as possible by commercial or other privately available transportation options, meaning the government won't get you out if you're still there. Earlier this month, armed gangs orchestrated jailbreaks from Haiti's two largest prisons, and demanded the resignation of the Caribbean nation's Prime Minister, Ariel Henry. The Haitian leader is not currently in the country and is petitioning the international community for a United Nations-backed security force to step in. More than 4,500 inmates have escaped, including senior gang leaders in the said the United Nations last week, adding that the jailbreak was the result of coordinated gang action against national institutions. What a mess. And they're talking about cannibal gangs roaming the streets, just all hell breaking loose in Haiti. And then I saw this one this morning. A gang leader named Barbecue is now the most powerful man in Haiti as the U.S. evacuates Americans. And I know what you're thinking initially when you hear about cannibal gangs roaming the streets in Haiti and that a gang leader named Barbecue is the most powerful man in the country. And while that does sound frightening, let's also consider that here in the United States, we are steamrolling towards a rematch of 2020. And so I just can't help but wonder, is it too late to get Barbecue on the ticket because our options are pretty bad here? I'm just saying, hey, this guy Barbecue, let's hear him out. Maybe his platform's a little better because, well, the leadership in this country not faring much better. Also going on this morning, exclusive, Chinese regulators ask large banks to step up support for Vanke, the third largest developer in China. Government is getting involved directly now, trying to save one of these developers. China has asked banks to enhance financing support for state-backed China Vanke and called on creditors to consider private debt maturity extension in a rare intervention from central government to help an embattled property firm, two sources said. The State Council of China's cabinet is coordinating support effort for China Vanke, said the sources with direct knowledge of the matter, adding financial institutions have been requested to make swift progress. Now, I had my paragraphs highlighted in this one. Okay. Authorities are scrambling to stabilize a real estate sector in the throes of a debt crisis characterized by default among China's biggest property firms, with support including boosting financing for developers of certain projects. However, the central government's response to individual firms has been rare, with actions taken for Country Garden, but most others tackled at the local level or left to their fate, including one-time market leader Evergrande, which faces liquidation. So they're saying here the government hasn't really gotten directly involved in any of these developers yet, but unlike those other developers, Vanke has government backing with 33.4% owned by Shenzhen Metro, a company held by Shenzhen State Asset Regulator. It's basically a government shell company. It's also one of few remaining Chinese property developers whose credit is rated as investment grade by international credit rating firms, so any debt repayment trouble could decimate market confidence, analysts have said. Moody's, however, late on Monday withdrew Vanke's Baa3 issuer rating and placed all ratings on review for downgrade. It said its rating actions reflect concern over Vanke's ability to recover its sales and improve its access to funding. Two sources who requested anonymity said that regulators met financial institutions and creditors, but did not specify when. Let's see. The central government wants to show a gesture that is actively rescuing the market. It's loosening up so that the banks should do so too, said Alva Chung, director of Prudential Brokerage in Hong Kong. Chung said authorities have not been able to stabilize the market after Evergrande defaulted, and if Vanke defaulted after Country Garden, there would be no confidence or new liquidity left in the market. Another person with knowledge of the matter said some large national commercial banks have made repayment requirements stricter for Vanke, adding to its financial stress. So what they're saying here, guys, is Vanke is the line in the sand that the Chinese government is trying to draw here. They've already lost Evergrande, they've lost Country Garden, and now Vanke, an outfit that is 1/3 owned by the Chinese government, they're saying we need to directly help here because if this one goes down, then this whole industry is basically hosed. In my opinion, it's already too late. I don't even think if they save Vanke, it'll be enough to save. But the government is taking a more heavy-handed approach to this one. Also going on this morning, Reddit launches long-awaited IPO with a $748 million target. Company and executives and investors plan to sell shares in their IPO, and Reddit will reserve 8% of stock for moderators and board members. Reddit Inc. and its investors disclosed further details on what is set to be one of the year's biggest IPOs, in which they are seeking to raise as much as $748 million. The social media platform said in a filing on Monday that it and its investors are planning to sell 22 million shares for $31 to $34 each. About 15.3 million of those shares will be sold by the company and the rest by investors and Reddit employers. On top of that, Reddit, whose users helped create the meme stock frenzy in 2021, would have a market value of $5.4 billion based on an expected 158.98 million shares outstanding. Now, I would just add here, guys, this company, it's not a new company. Reddit, been around for a while, and they are not yet profitable. So let's just say I'm not first in line to buy shares in this company. They're talking about shrinking losses here, but even though losses are shrinking, they are not yet profits. Founded in 2005, Reddit averaged 73.1 million daily active visitors in the fourth quarter, according to its filings. The company reported a net loss of $91 million on revenue of $804 million in 2023, compared with a net loss of $159 million on revenue of $667 million a year earlier. So they're trending in the right direction, but still not profitable. Reddit's largest shareholder is Advanced Magazine Publishers, Inc., part of the Newhouse family publishing empire that owns Condé Nast, which bought Reddit in 2006 and spun it out in 2011. Reddit said its millions of loyal users and moderators pose risks as well as a benefit for the company. Redditors have a historically combative relationship with the site, launching results over everything from racism on the platform to executive staffing decisions. When the company releases their initial DD for the IPO and they say, yeah, our millions of users are every bit as much a liability as they are an asset, it's not exactly a ringing endorsement of the company. Reddit is a difficult place. I don't know if any of you guys have spent any time over there, but it is an unforgiving atmosphere, to say the least, over at Reddit. Also going on this morning, bad news for Boeing continues. The DOJ has opened a criminal investigation into the Alaska Airlines 737 blowout, a report says. The Department of Justice has launched a criminal investigation into the Boeing jetliner blowout that left a gaping hole on an Alaska Airlines plane this January, the Wall Street Journal reported on Saturday. Citing documents and people familiar with the matter, the newspaper said investigators have contacted some passengers and crew, including pilots and flight attendants who were on the January 5th flight. Now, Boeing has acknowledged in a letter to Congress that it cannot find records for work done on the door panel of the Alaska Airlines plane, and that just reeks of cover-up. Oops, sorry, that big gaping hole blew out in the side of the plane, and we can't find any of the documentation that we're required to keep on the work that was done on that panel. Not a good look for Boeing. We have looked extensively and have not found any such documentation, a Boeing executive said. The company said its working hypothesis was that the records about the panel's removal and reinstallation on the 737 MAX final assembly line in Renton, Washington, were never created, even though Boeing's system required it. Yikes. Lack of internal controls, documentation going missing, accidents happening midair. The letter reported earlier by the Seattle Times followed a contentious Senate committee hearing Wednesday in which Boeing and the NTSB argued over whether the company had cooperated with investigators. The safety board's chair, Jennifer Homendy, testified that for 2 months, Boeing repeatedly refused to identify employees who work on door panels on Boeing 737s and failed to provide documentation about a repair job that included removing and reinstalling the door panel. It's absurd that 2 months later, we don't have that, Homendy said. Without that information, that raises concerns about quality assurance, quality management, safety management systems at Boeing. So not only can they not find the records, they won't even say who did the work. They're required to keep those records. It's been 2 months since this panel blew out, and the investigation has gone nowhere. And now this is a criminal probe, not an accident investigation. So things are not looking good for Boeing here. And on the same day this story comes out, we got this one: dozens injured on LATAM flight after technical event with Boeing 787 Dreamliner. And how do you pronounce this? Is it LATAM, Latin American? We'll say LATAM, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Roughly 50 people were treated by first responders after a flight from Sydney to Auckland experienced a strong movement. Talk about gently worded PR releases. Roughly 50 people were treated by first responders after a Boeing 787 Dreamliner operated by LATAM Airlines experienced what the airline called a technical event when traveling from Sydney to Auckland. LATAM Airlines said it had a technical event during the flight, which caused a strong movement. The Chilean airline didn't elaborate further on the problem. The plane landed in Auckland, New Zealand's largest city, as scheduled. The New Zealand ambulance service, Hato Hone St. John, said it dispatched 14 units, including 7 ambulances, to Auckland International Airport after hearing of the in-flight disturbance. 12 patients were taken to the hospital. Our ambulance crews assessed and treated approximately 50 patients, with one patient in a serious condition and the remainder in a moderate to minor condition, the ambulance service said in an emailed statement. The plane was a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, according to data from FlightAware, a flight tracking site. So 50 people hurt on a plane that just suddenly drops out of the sky mid-flight. Apparently, people just flew up into the ceiling on this plane when this happened. 50 of them hurt. And, this plane carries a maximum of about 280 passengers. So, you're talking 1 in 5 people on this plane was injured when this happened. This was not a gentle nudge. This was something big happened. And they're saying a technical event led to it, meaning either human error, maintenance problem, something broke, whatever. Boeing stock down another 2% this morning after falling 2.25% on Friday, trading at $194.40. That's down $4. It has been a rough year for Boeing. It started the year at $251, currently trading at $194. And I just want to say thank you very much to, where are you in there, sir? Thank you, Mr. Nashville Pasta Man, who says NVIDIA and Boeing both prone to extreme drops. Yeah, NVIDIA has been taking off for the better part of a year and a half now, but all of a sudden on Friday, Nashville, what was it, about $260 billion worth of market cap NVIDIA shed in a span of about 30 minutes on Friday. That's the market cap of Chevron. I mentioned this on my live stream Friday afternoon. One stock, NVIDIA, shed the equivalent of a Chevron in 30 minutes of trading on Friday. All right. That's volatile, folks. That's volatility. $260 billion in market cap going up in smoke in a matter of a couple of minutes. You've seen how fast it can happen now. And that was just a small one. That wasn't even a big move. Most NVIDIA shareholders probably didn't even notice it. They're too busy tweeting about their gains in Moon, bro. Pay attention, guys. We saw a little preview about what the unwind of this tech trade is going to look like. And I suspect before the dust settles from this thing, we're going to see a lot more of that. Thank you very much, Nashville Pasta Man. Appreciate the super chat and the support of the channel. And thank you to Mr. Easy Fix, who says Sweden officially joins NATO, Russia no likey. That is correct. Sweden did officially join NATO last week. And yeah, I'm sure the Russians are not going to be too happy of that. The expansion of the NATO alliance has been one of the contributing factors into the war in Ukraine. That, along with Vladimir Putin being Vladimir Putin, not going to weigh too heavily into this one. But NATO just got bigger. The military alliance gets even bigger. Turkey was an impediment to that for the longest time. Apparently, they have worked it out. And I believe, Finland also just joined NATO within the last couple of months. So, the alliance continues to expand on Russia's doorstep. Well, hopefully that doesn't blow up in our face. And thanks again, Easy Fix. And thank you, Cole Marsh, who says, coffee, stay frosty, brother. I could use it this morning. Yes. We're going to put a little extra caffeine in the wake-up juice this morning. It's a Monday. Cut me some slack here, Cole. But thank you, sir. I appreciate the super chat and the support of the channel. And thank you, everybody, for having your coffee with the Melon Heads this morning. I appreciate you guys spending your time with us. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters for everything you guys do for the channel. I appreciate that very much. And all my channel members. I got links to all that good stuff down below, should you feel so inclined. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I love you guys. Everybody, till next time, live small and dream big.